everybody. I am so excited to have you here with me today. If this is your first time at the Belly Baby Summit, welcome. If not, I am so excited to have you back. Today, I am going to be talking about going from a shoot and burner mentality to IPS, the beginning of understanding in-person sales sessions. Now, if you're not familiar with me, my name is Karen Bagley. I am the owner of Significant Moments Photography. My studio is based right outside of Atlanta, and I specialize in maternity, motherhood, and underwater portraiture. I am so excited to get into the information today, but before we get started, I want you to watch this brief introduction video, and then we'll jump right in. Let's dive right in. So first, I want to dissect, if you will, what a shoot and burner is and what IPS sessions are. So shoot and burners are the photographers who go out on a photography session, are possibly shooting for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half, and they are releasing those images to their clients via downloadable onto their computer, whether it's CD, USB. They're pretty much in essence giving their images to their clients for whatever price they have set. Now let's look at the IPS sessions. IPS sessions are where the photographer is going on the photo shoot for same amount of time, but they're having their client come to them and select artwork to buy, whether it's to hang up on the wall, put in an album, display in some sort of way. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not selling digitals, but they're having their clients come to them to view their images together. So we see here we have two very opposite ends of the spectrum. We have shoot and burners, and again, we have IPS sales sessions. Now, is there one specific right or wrong way to run your business? Well, the short answer to that is no. It's really going to come down to how you want to run your business. However, until you have tried both of them and have seen which one makes you more money and which one your clients really need from you, then the long answer is yes, there is a particular way for you to run business. So what I want to talk about today is kind of how my journey started with IPS sales sessions. I want to talk about how you can get started doing IPS sales sessions, how it's going to benefit your business, and then I want to talk about how the things that we can kind of expect when we make that switch? Because if I was to stand in front of you and tell you that it was a super easy switch, that would be a lie. Owning your own business is really, really difficult, but I am here to help you grow your business. You guys, if you've watched me before, you know I'm a maternity photographer. I specialize with maternity, motherhood, and underwater. I could sit up here and talk to you all day about posing and lighting, but I also want to help you with your business. Regardless of the images that you create, you could be the most amazing photographer in the world. But if you don't understand how to run your business, we're gonna get burnout. So today, I really want to focus on helping you make money in your business. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean not selling digital files, but I want you to be able to try the in-person sales session first so that you know which way is going to work best for your business. So let's get started with my journey with IPS. My journey into IPS. Unfortunately, we can't make this a 10-hour video, so I will try to shorten it as much as possible. But I want to give you confidence and understanding that I did not start out doing IPS sessions. I started out just like the majority of photographers, unless if you just came into photography with, a business degree, you probably started out doing that shoot and burner mentality. That's 100% how I started. So back in the day, I was selling all of the images that I took for $50. In my head, I was like, $50, yay, paid for my gas to go to the shoot, I'm doing good. So most of us, we all start from somewhere. So I know a lot of people are kind of hanging on that cliff of, I'm ready to move to IPS, but I am just so terrified of making that jump. And just like me, I was extremely terrified to make that jump, but I realized something, and it was probably after about 2 or 3 years of me doing a shoot and burn style. So, I started off with $50 a CD, then it went up to $75 and $100, then $150, then $200, then $250. I kept working my way up. And then suddenly, the more that my knowledge grew about photography and the better my images were getting, I was like, I'm literally making less than minimum wage giving these images to my client. And so at that point in time, I realized I need to educate myself. I needed to learn how to actually run a business. So, as creatives, we tend to look at something and we're like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. I have to photograph it. And then for me, my husband was the business mind, if you will. And he's like, yeah, that's great, but how are you going to make money from that? Because $250 is nothing. So then my wheels started turning and I was like, oh my God, he's right. I cannot just be photographing things and giving them away for $200. I'm making no money. I wasn't even breaking even. I was losing money. So then I started to educate myself and see and understand that, one, the entire world thinks digitally. And that's for good reason. I mean, our phones, our laptops, our camera, everything is digital nowadays. So clients automatically think that they want digital files. And for us to be that person that says, actually, I don't think you want digital. I think you want to do print. That can be a bit of a stopping point for us. That can scare us a little bit. However, I also realized clients don't know what they want. They base everything that they want off of what they've seen. Pinterest is a perfect example. People see all of these images on Pinterest and they say, oh, can you do that for me? Yeah, that's not what we do. It's the same thing with shoot and burn. We think our clients want digital files because that's all we've ever seen, that's all we've ever heard, and that's all we've ever known. So we sell our images digitally because we don't think anything else. We don't think any other way. Now, the time came as I'm learning these things, as I'm understanding that my clients don't really understand what they want. It's time for me to educate them. So it was literally like me just taking that step off that cliff, hoping for a bridge to be there, almost kind of blindly, just taking a step straight into IPS. So my point in telling you my journey into IPS is because I want you to understand, if you are waiting for the perfect moment for you to go from a shoot and burner to becoming an IPS photographer, that moment is never going to come. You have to create that moment. I get so many photographers ask me, well, how did you begin? How did you get started? It was just this simple. I just started. We, of course, are going to help you understand how you can get started, but I wanted you to know that there was no just magical moment where I was like, oh, all of the stars have aligned. I am now ready to do IPS. That's never going to happen. So if you're waiting for that, stop waiting. It's time to start taking your business seriously. You are a professional, and it is time to start trying those IPS sales sessions. Now, you may try IPS sales sessions and be like, you know what? It's not for me. Or you may make the most money you have ever made in your life. Now, let that be your driving force. I will tell you this much. The first IPS sales session I ever had was a $2,400 sale. The first one I ever had was a $2,400 sale. You can imagine I was in tears after that sales session. I played it completely cool with my clients, of course, but at the end of that session, I was like a mess because I had never seen money like that before. All from making the choice, blindly almost, to go from a shoot and burner to an IPS photographer. I was educating my client on what they wanted. And now I want to educate you on how you can go from that shoot and burner mentality to IPS mentality. Now let's get you ready for your IPS sessions. So one thing that I want to make perfectly clear through all of this is, regardless of if this is your first time doing IPS, if you are just needing a few pointers to improve your IPS sessions, whatever the case may be, this is all of this is going to boil down to your confidence level. So what I have found is so many photographers really struggle. They struggle because their confidence in their work is not high enough. The confidence in their process is not high enough. Just their overall confidence in themselves is not very good. And I think as creatives, we tend to be very, very hard on ourselves, which can be good in some circumstances because we're always wanting to improve. We're always wanting to make things better. That's great. But when it comes to going from a shoot and burner to an IPS photographer, if that confidence is holding you back, you really, really have to work on that because it's also preventing you from making money. So that was the first thing I wanted to get out of the way. If your confidence is that one thing holding you back, you got to push past that. There's not going to be that, like I said before, the stars are never going to align perfectly for you to feel very comfortable to go from shoot and burner to IPS. Now, with that being said, you also need to have a plan in place. So while I mentioned before, with me going from shoot and burner to IPS, that it felt kind of just like stepping off a bridge, it didn't mean that I just had my clients come to my house and was like, okay, I don't know what to do now. I had a plan in place. I knew what I was going to do when they came in. You have to have a plan in place as well. Now, we are going to discuss my process in just a minute, but the important part that I want you to understand is the confidence and having a plan in place. If you are confident in the plan that you have, as soon as your clients step through your door, whether you're hosting this at an office or in your home, which, by the way, that could also be something that's holding you back. A lot of people feel like they have to have this extravagant location and this beautifully set up. I've been doing this from my home from the moment that I started. And from the very beginning, my home was not much. I didn't have much going on, but it still didn't stop me because the thought of I reached a point in my business where I realized I was either needing to be just a hobbyist photographer or I needed to take this seriously. And my heart, I've always been a creative. This is my why. There is no other option for me. So I knew I had to start doing IPS sales sessions for me because I wanted my business to be taken seriously. So even though I didn't have the perfect studio, which you guys have probably seen through our past videos of mine with my teaching, that my studio looks like a warehouse. It's got these huge ceilings. It's not a place where I would take my clients for a sales session. So I've always been doing this from my home. So please don't feel like you can't start tomorrow. Now remember guys, I have 2 kids, I have a big dog, a German Shepherd, so running IPS sales sessions and client meetings from my home does get a bit chaotic. That's why I'm saying you have to have a plan in place, not only for how you're going to run the session with your clients, but how is your family going to help you? Are they going to help contribute? You need to have a schedule in place for when you have these sales sessions. All of these little details go back to the first part and help build your confidence. You know when your sessions are going to be, you know that the house or your office is going to be clean and set. You have a plan in place. That is the most important thing. That plan is going to help that confidence just shoot through the roof. So while I said in my first part that it's almost like blindly taking a step off of a bridge, it's true because you don't really know what to expect. But that didn't mean, again, that I just had my clients come in and was like, okay, pick some stuff, I don't know what to do. I had my pricing together. I had exactly step 1, 2, 3, 4 in place, which again, we'll go over in our process in just a minute. But all of that was set. So when my clients came in, they thought I had been doing this the whole time. They had no idea this was my first IPS sales session. Now, what I want to talk about is how my process works so that you know how to have a plan in place. Hopefully, my process can help you have a plan for your IPS sales sessions. My process with in-person sales sessions. So first, let me tell you this. If you are making that jump from a shoot and burn to IPS sales session, and I'm always going to use the word jump because that is literally what you will be doing. There's never going to be an easy bridge to walk from one to the other. It's always going to be a jump. But if you are about to make that jump, walking through and understanding my process is going to help you so much in hopefully building your IPS sales sessions. So before I even have a client photographed, from the very first phone call, they know my entire process from start to finish. So they know that I am not a shoot and burner photographer, that I am an IPS sales session photographer right from the beginning. So if somebody asks, well, don't you just sell digital files? I just want all the pictures. My response to them is, we are a full service photography studio. We are here to provide you with artwork and heirlooms for your home for generations to come. So for that reason, while we do offer digital collections, our focus is more so on print. So guys, right out of the gate, I have already settled that question, and they will know pretty soon if they want to move forward with me or not. I have gotten to a point in my career now where people kind of know my business. They know that I sell, large artwork and albums because they see it on my stories, they see it on my Facebook page. But back when I first started, do you sell digital files was the biggest question I got. And time after time, I would tell them, which built my confidence because again, your confidence levels, we are all so hard on ourselves. If we can build those confidence levels up, any way we can, I want you to do that. So the more I told them that we were a print-based studio, the better off my confidence was. And truthfully, when people came in, when I started getting more clients in to do those IPS sessions, they were like, oh yeah, what would I do with digitals? I have no idea. It's going to sit in a drawer. And what I would say is, if you make this investment, even if it's a $500 investment and it's going to sit in a drawer collecting dust, that's an investment that's now been, all that money's been thrown down the toilet, if you will. And for the type of artwork we create, we don't want your images just sitting on a shelf. Please use these lines, you guys. I promise you, they work. So from the very get-go, my clients understand and know that they will be meeting with me to view their images and pick out artwork for their home. Not only do we talk about this on the first phone call, they get their pricing brochure right after the shoot is done. They also get an email reminding them, once they have scheduled their preview and purchase session, that we have print goals and that if they have any walls that they want print on, to bring a picture and measurements of those walls so that we can show them what their artwork will look like. We are very, very, very proactive, you guys. The reason we are proactive is because, again, our clients have no idea what they want. They think they do because of everything that they've seen and everything that they've heard. Oh, my photographer did this for $200 and oh my God, I got all the files and I love them, and they're posting 800 pictures on Facebook and they all look exactly the same and they look like they were taken with an iPhone. That's why that cost was probably that way, right? So for us, we have to make sure that they know from the very, very beginning what our standard is, why we are the way that we are, and we have to be able to explain that. So again, all throughout, they understand and they know right up to the point that their in-person sales session actually happens that I am an in-person sales session photographer. How many times can you say that fast without getting tongue twisted? So when they come in for their in-person sales session, this is my process. They come in, they sit down. I have a beautiful spread. I have cheeses, champagne if they're a new mother. If they're expecting, I'll only put champagne out if like their spouse is coming or family members are coming. Chocolate covered strawberries. I have this beautiful spread of hors d'oeuvres for them to sit down, relax. We chat for a few minutes. I've asked her how her pregnancy has been going. Just a little bit of small talk just to make them feel very comfortable. And then I jump right in. The second thing that I do is show them their slideshow. Now the slideshow is compiled of fully edited images with behind the scenes video that we have taken on our actual session. They love it, you guys. They love seeing these fully edited images for the first time, so it gets them all revved up and excited to start going through them and picking out what they want to order. Once their slideshow is done, we physically do the tour, okay? Now the tour is very important. This is also very important for you to know. The reason we do a tour of our fine art that we're selling is because humans are very visual creatures. We have to have it to be able to sell it. So if you are wanting to go from shoot and burner to IPS, start getting samples of work now. Now, when I first started, I didn't have samples of everything. I'll be honest with you. I had like one album, one statement piece, but I only sold what I had because that's all they could see. So if you're wanting to make that switch, go ahead and start saving up to get those samples now. Every time you make a sell of whatever it is that you're selling, put that money right back into those products. So back to my process, once their slideshow is done, we do a tour. They can physically see, feel, touch all of the prints and products that I have to offer. Because I have all of this here, that has led to some of my biggest sales. So even in a single IPS sales session, I have made over $10,000 with one client. But also, for those clients who have been return clients, I've sold upwards of $40,000 with them total because they have been able to physically see, feel, and touch those products. Now, for us, even if we're trying to explain it to them, you know, this beautiful 12 by 12 album, it has an acrylic cover, it has a luster matte finish for the pages. Those words don't mean anything to the normal non-creative human. For us, it means something. If you tell me you just put a 20 by 30 acrylic in your house, I'm gonna be ecstatic for you because I know what you've done. For the person that's hiring us, that's not gonna mean anything to them. So we have to be able to show it to sell it. So super, super important process there, guys. Make sure that you have something to show your clients before you start doing IPS sales sessions. Also too, we talked about pricing just a little bit, but I want to make sure that you understand your pricing needs to be figured out well before you start doing IPS sales sessions. And I know this is going to be a huge question, so I want to go ahead and address it now. You can't jump into IPS selling stuff for $5,000. That's just not how it works. The same way that we build our craft, we build our images, we're always building our business, the same thing goes with pricing. We can't just throw random odd numbers out there hoping that our clients will buy them because that's just not how it works. So a good rule of thumb, let's say your cost for buying an album is around $150. You want to 3 times, if not 4 times, up that price starting out, okay? So just keep that in mind. You don't want to double it because then you're barely making enough to cover everything else that you've done. Your products, which I don't want to get too far into pricing, but your products have to include the editing time, the emails, the calls, everything that you've done. So you have to make sure that you're at least timesing that cost of good by 3, possibly by 4, and that's just if you're starting out. Now, as you grow and as you see people buying the same thing over and over again, that price needs to go up. It needs to go up. So again, just a little tidbit on pricing because I know that's going to be something that comes up. But back to the process. So after they have physically gone through the tour, they come and they sit back down. At this point in time, my husband, who is here with me through every preview session, has already set up On our iPad, we have the Apple TV, so he mirrors it to our TV, so it's nice and big. And at that point in time, the clients sit down and they scroll through their images. Now, when we first started, we had our clients decide what they wanted to purchase and narrow down those images all in one day. The problem was, because they were viewing 150, 170 images from their session, it was taking them 3-4 hours to narrow down their images. My husband and I were like, no way, we can't take this amount of time because we have other appointments we have to get to, and we don't want to rush them because it is a pretty big investment for them. So what do we do? So now our process is they come in, they do a rough preview of their images, they tell us what they want to purchase, they make their payment for that purchase, and then a gallery is sent to them for them to go through and select their images. Now, I'm very careful that the gallery that I send them does have watermarked images, because not that they would, but I just want to be careful that people aren't trying to steal my images that are already edited, which, by the way, I know this might be a question that's asked too. How many edited images do I show them versus how many unedited, or do I edit them all? The answer to that question is I do not edit all of those images. So my clients will come in to view anywhere from 150 to 200 images depending on the session that they've booked, and I might edit 15 to 20 out of the entire collection so that they at least understand what they're getting, what the polished image looks like. And I tell them, obviously, any image that you love that's not edited will go through the full editing process and will be just as polished as the ones that you see here. If you're wondering if that affects my sales, it does not affect my sales whatsoever. In fact, when I first started, I edited every single image for my clients to see. And then over time, my sales weren't very great in the beginning. Over time, I started realizing I was wasting hours on editing, and I didn't even know if they were going to do something with that image. So what was the point of it? So over time, I started doing less and less editing so that they would fully understand, you know, this is what it looks like, but it does also take quite a bit of time to do my editing, and I want to make sure you love it before I put that time into that image. So once that is done and they have made payment, they head out the door. That gallery gets posted the next day, and I have put it in my pricing, because we all have to pay for storage. Regardless of the gallery that we're using for them, it's a monthly payment. It's not much, but they still need to understand that they have only a certain amount of days so that they can make those selections of whatever they've purchased. And obviously, if they've spent quite a bit of money, they need a few more days than if they have only spent, you know, $500 or $600. They only need maybe a day or two to pick what they want to go with what they purchased. Make sure they understand that that gallery is not going to be open forever, because then you will find yourself waiting for your clients to make their, oh, my family came from out of town, can you extend the gallery this long? I cannot. This is why. 1, we told you at your preview session. 2, because we are paying for the space. And 3, because the world doesn't revolve around you. Just kidding. Don't tell anybody that, but kind of in a way tell them. Let them know that, you know, my whole business doesn't circle around you. I have other galleries to upload. I have space that I have to deal with. So no. However, if you do need more time, I will sell it to you for whatever price you come up with. And that'll buy them another week of time, however you want to run it. But these are the type of things that you need to have in your mind as a plan for your process, set and ready to go. Because I promise you, every question you could possibly think of is going to come up when you start doing IPS sales sessions. So just so you kind of have an idea of what to expect, you're gonna be nervous. You may never, ever feel fully comfortable in doing IPS sales sessions. I still get nervous. I still wonder, oh my God, what if the client hates what I've done for them? Those thoughts are always gonna be there. The point that I'm trying to make here is that IPS sales sessions, without those, I would still probably not be actually running a business. Now, if you decide, like I said before, that you kind of still don't like doing IPS sessions, but you understand the value of your artwork and you want to sell digital files for $5,000, that you could easily run a successful business that way, depending on your clientele. However, it's hard for us to understand the value of our images until we sit and really get to know what our clients are wanting. Then we can truly become a professional in photography for what we're doing, so we know what our clients want. So please expect and know that there are going to be moments where you feel like throwing up. If you're anything like me, I was like, oh my God, 5 minutes, they're gonna be here, I'm gonna get sick, oh, I'm gonna puke. And then once they came in, I was in complete control because I tried to make sure that my confidence level, now be mindful, confidence should not be confused with cockiness, but my confidence level in what I was doing was there. If your clients can tell that you're not confident in what you're doing, they're gonna walk all over you. So have that plan in place, have that process in place, rewatch this video, take those notes so that you can improve and perfect your process as well, which please keep in mind, I'm always perfecting mine. So it's something that will always be, it should be a living, breathing thing that you are constantly changing and constantly working to improve. But I hope my process will help you to kind of get started and understanding, knowing what your clients are going to ask you for, knowing what your clients are going to say, and kind of what to expect when you make that jump from shoot and burn to IPS. So I know what you may be thinking. Okay, Karen, I have a plan in place. I have the process written down. I'm not really ready to make the jump to IPS, but I know for my business, it's vital to do so that I can see if I can really make money and this can be a legitimate business. But where do I even begin? What products do I offer my clients? Well, put your mind at ease. So this is something that we are constantly, regardless of the photographer that you ask, this is always evolving with us. So what I used to carry 4 years ago, I don't carry anymore. And some things I do still carry. So you will have to test this out on your own. But a good basic of things for you to start with, that just to test to see if your clients like it or not, are definitely fine art pieces. Now, I'm not talking about canvas. Canvas is pretty popular and most people know what a canvas is when you mention it. I talk more about metal prints, acrylic prints. Those are more of the products that people are not as familiar with as canvas. And canvas is more traditionally known for like newborn portraits or possibly the family portrait. For what I do, my maternity and especially my underwater work, it's more so the metals and the acrylics. So those are a must for me to tell you to start with for your products. Another good starting point is albums. Clients love albums. It's a good way to get a lot of images in one place. Not every client has a ton of wall space to put a whole bunch of large pictures up. So albums is definitely a big one. And then the third one is, well, and it depends, like I said, it's all gonna come down to your clientele and what they like, what they don't like. And the only way for you to know is to have it all on a pricing list. Don't overwhelm them, don't have too much stuff. But again, this isn't a class on pricing, but I just want to tell you, you want to have very limited options for your clients, especially when you're first starting out in IPS and you don't really know what they want, because that can be very overwhelming. And if they get too overwhelmed, then you run into, I don't know what I want to do. I'm going to have to go home and think about this. And that's not what you want with IPS sales sessions. So there needs to be incentives for them to buy that day. But again, that's a whole nother class in itself, but something that you need to think about when it comes to making the switch from shoot and burner to IPS. So good products is fine art statement pieces, albums, folios, acrylic blocks. Those are some of our clients' very, very, very favorites. So you can test that out, see if that's something that your clients are interested in. You can see how they sell, if it's something, and like we had wood portraits on our price list at one point in time. We never sold those, so we scratched them because we never had anybody who was very interested in those. So what you offer to your clients is going to be something that you should always pay attention to, okay? Your clients are telling you how to run your business if you listen close enough. So make sure that you have at least a few samples, and those are some of the samples that I would tell you to invest in first, and then you can go right on your way to your IPS sales session. Okay, so mind blown with going from shoot and burner to IPS, right? I know it's a lot to take in, especially in such a short class. So I want you to rewatch, I want you to take as many notes as possible, and I want to make sure that you know how to connect with me. So it was in the slideshow before, and we're going to put it at the end of this class as well. But I want you to follow me on Instagram. I want you to join our Next Level Maternity page on Facebook. That's where you can connect with me. I want you guys to feel free to ask me questions. This is a very, very deep subject. And while we just scratched the surface on getting started with IPS, and that's really kind of what you need is just a blueprint, because you're gonna have to make things your own for your own business. You're gonna have questions along the way. That's what I'm here for. So make sure that you follow us on Instagram. Make sure that you join our Next Level page and ask me questions anytime. Our Next Level Maternity page, we are always going live and discussing marketing and really anything to improve your business, because that's what I care about most. Improving your photography is very important, but improving your business skills, that's even more important, because that's going to be what makes or breaks your career in photography. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope to be back again another time, and I will see you guys later.